Okay, today we're talking about basic bicycle maintenance. So, just a quick note. The reason I'm making this video, this obviously is a maintenance and repair channel. I know in some industrial settings, there are businesses that use bicycles and industrial trikes for employees to get around their facility. Or if your employer has a health and wellness program where they encourage bicycle riding, or if you ride your bicycle to work, or even just on the weekends riding your bicycle with your family, I thought this was a good video to make for folks. Regarding bicycle anatomy, just the basics. Of course, you have your seat, your handlebars, your head tube, top tube, down tube, seat tube, seat stays, chain stays, chain rings, cog, cluster, or cassette, rear derailleur, front derailleur, and this particular bicycle has V-brakes, or sometimes called linear brakes. And the front fork is a shock style fork, obviously. And it has index twist grip shifters you see here on the handles. So let's get started. So I'm performing some basic routine maintenance on my daughter's bicycle today. Take you along with me here. Woo! And just a quick disclaimer, this video is not a paid promotion for any make, model, product, or vendor you see here in this video. So you want to do an overall visual inspection. I like to start with checking the tire pressure. And the tire pressure rating is usually on the side of the tire wall. These tires should have about 55 psi, and they're low. So I'm going to use a bicycle pump to pump up the tires. Obviously, if your tires are cracked or bowled or ripped, you want to replace those because those won't be safe. So the tread should be in good condition, not cracked or ripped. You can buy a bicycle pump at your local big box store, bicycle shop, or on the interwebs. And it's a good idea to carry a small portable bicycle pump, either in the trunk of your vehicle or on your bicycle frame itself. So if you get a flat tire, you need to repair it, you have a bicycle pump on hand. And you'll note these bicycle tires the tread pattern is directional. So the tread pattern faces forward on both tires, if that makes sense. And your tire size will also be listed on the sidewall of the tires. Okay, tires are good. Let's move on. So I'm looking at all the welds. Make sure there's no cracked welds, no broken welds. No fatigue cracks anywhere. No dings or dents in the frame. Looks good. Checking the brakes. The front shock, it's working properly. The brakes are working properly. Want to make sure there's not a large gap between the brake pads and the rim. Looks good. And you also don't want your brake pads dragging on the rim. Check the condition of your cables, brake cables, derailleur cables. All the hardware tight. Looks good. So I'm checking the trueness of the wheels now. So you want to check for vertical and horizontal trueness. So what I do, a simple way to do it is you look between the brake pad and the rim, and if you see that gap open and close as you spin the wheel, that would tell you that that wheel is out of true. Use a spoke wrench like this to adjust your spokes to true your wheels. We're not going to go over how to true wheels in this video. I also recommend using a Triflow lubricant. It's a PTFE lubricant. Works well to lubricate all your chain, your derailleurs, your cog cluster, pivot points on the derailleurs, the jockey pulley, idler pulley, front derailleur, again the chain rings. You can put a drop or two of oil on the return springs on the brake calipers. Now, if you ride your bike or your industrial trike on a daily basis or weekly, you'd want to do an annual overhaul of your axle bearings, your crankset bearings, your headset bearings, etc. Again, that's a topic for another video, not today. And this is a chain breaker tool. So if you need to remove your chain and you do not have a master link, then the chain breaker tool will help you drive out the pin on your chain so you can remove the chain if necessary for repair or replacement. Just FYI. Or you can look up videos online that'll show you how to true bicycle wheels and how to do a complete overhaul. But again, this video is just meant to be the basics. So now we're going to go through and we're going to check all of our axle nuts, make sure they're not loose. You don't want the wheels falling off. Check the pedals, make sure they're not loose. Checking the bottom bracket to make sure it's not clunking back and forth. I'll go grab my Allen wrench set, and we will check to make sure the handlebars are secured to the head tube or the steer tube. Because if that mounting bolt is loose, you could actually lose control or lose steering ability of your bicycle, which would be dangerous. Also checking that quick release lever on the seat, make sure it's secure. You don't want your seat moving around. So here, yeah, I'm checking the handlebars, making sure they're in place, not loose. And the way the handlebars are attached to the steer tube, there's usually a wedge-shaped, it'd be a cone shape or a wedge shape down inside the steer tube. And then as you tighten that bolt, it pulls up that wedge shape into against the tube, the headset, inside the headset, and wedges it in there. I'm just checking all these Allen bolts on the handlebars, making sure they're snug. So now we'll go ahead and flip the bike upside down and check our derailleurs for proper operation. So do you hear a clunking or grinding noise? Does a chain skip or slip, or is it shifting between gears? So what I'm doing now is I'm going through all the gears for the rear derailleur. You can see the derailleur moving up. And there's adjustment screws on your front derailleur as well as your back derailleur. And they're usually marked L and H for low gear and high gear. And they set the limit of travel so the derailleur doesn't derail the chain too far over in either direction.
Wow.
And you can see I'm noticing this one is out of adjustment. So you can see that limit screw needs to be adjusted. There's the limit screws right there. So you simply take a screwdriver. This is for the H, for the high gear. Still not quite there. You just do it little 1/4 inch turns. So I'm shifting through the gears again. You can see how it's kind of sloppy and hesitating. I'm going to adjust my cable tension to be a little bit firmer. And see how that helps clean up some of that slop. Because if your cable tension is too loose, when you go to shift, it'll hesitate or jump back and forth between gears. I'm also looking at the front derailleur because I can hear it rubbing, the chain rubbing on the derailleur. I don't know if you can see that on camera. So that front derailleur will need some adjustment as well with those screws right there. So again, just little turns at a time, and then check your work. See if it's gotten better or worse. Because you don't want anything rubbing, making noise. You want nice, responsive shifts. And you don't want it hunting between gears or slipping between gears. So I'll show you an example of what happens if the chain completely derails off of the cog cluster and how to correct that. So yeah, it's shifted much better now. Yep, and there we go. You can see the chain just derailed off of that low gear, which is your largest cog. So it's easy enough just to put the chain back on. But what does that tell us? That tells us we need to adjust that screw to limit the travel toward the spokes. So it's traveling too far. The derailleur is traveling too far towards the spokes. So we need to bring that adjustment in with that screw a tiny bit. So we'll tighten the L screw to limit the travel. Try to give you a better view. You can see how it's moving the derailleur back away from the spokes. Almost there. So just another maybe half turn or two. There we go. Maybe another more. Yep. That's looking better. So you can see now it goes through the gears nice and quickly and easily. And that's what you want. So now I'm going to focus my attention again on this front derailleur and try to get out of the camera. And same thing, as I'm pedaling the bicycle, I'm moving the gear shift lever. I'm also noticing, you see how slack the cable tension is for the front derailleur? I don't know if you can see that on camera here. You see how much that cable, how much slack is in that cable? That's way too much slack. So there's a couple options. There's an adjustment ferrule down by the shift lever here. If I back that out, if I loosen it, it's going to put more tension on the cable. So you can see we fixed some of that tension. It has more tension on it now. But the other option that you might have to do in this case is loosen the nut that secures the cable to the derailleur, pull on the cable with a pair of pliers until it's taut, and then retighten the nut. And I think that's what I'm going to need to do here. And you want to make sure you do this with the chain on the smallest chain ring. And so yeah, I'm noticing that it's still not quite right. So we'll have to detach that cable and then retension the cable right there with that nut. And grab my wrench. And that goes for your brake cables, your front and rear derailleur cables. You can adjust that ferrule to increase the tension. Or sometimes you just have to loosen that mounting nut for the cable. Pull on the cable with a pair of pliers and then retighten the mounting nut while you hold tension on the cable. So you can see that's what I'm about ready to do here. Just need to make sure I got the correct size wrench first. So what I'm doing is I'm gently holding on that cable with my pliers. Now if the cable's loose, you see how it's all the way loose? I'll reinstall it in a little groove. And then I'll hold some tension on that cable with my pliers while I retighten that mounting nut. And you can see we've moved that cable now about a good 1/4 of an inch. So now when we adjust the ferrule up at the shift lever, it should be more responsive and give us the result we want. Just checking the rear one. All right. So same thing, start pedaling the bicycle. And I find it's best to do it with the chain on the smallest cog on the rear and the smallest chain ring on the front. So now we'll shift through the chain rings. So you can see it's more responsive now, shifting better. And I added just a tiny bit of tension on the front derailleur cable by loosening that ferrule by the shift lever. And these V-brakes, or sometimes referred to as linear brakes, don't know if you can see it. I'll try to show you. But this left brake pad was slightly rubbing. So there's an adjustment screw to adjust the spring tension on this side, right here. So I'm just gonna tighten the screw a bit, and then that moves that brake pad slightly away from the rims. Now you can see it's grabbing more evenly and no longer rubbing. All right, I want to show you here, this says right hand threaded. See the R on the sticker? So your right pedal is right hand threaded, your left pedal is left hand threaded. So keep that in mind with your pedals. Again, your left hand pedal, the threads are lefty tighty, righty loosey. Your right pedal is righty tighty, lefty loosey. Just FYI. Be a good idea to have a repair kit on your bicycle or in the trunk of your vehicle. This one you can buy at Walmart for a couple bucks. You can see it comes with the patches, the cement, the tire levers. Tire levers are what you will use to remove the tire off of the rim. Comes with directions and a little scraper. Safety. So just remember, anytime you ride a bicycle, always wear a helmet. My kids, they wear a helmet and elbow pads and knee pads for safety.
Wow.
If you're going to ride your bike at night, especially on a public street, it'd be a real good idea to have reflectors, a headlight that's battery powered, that clamps to your handlebars, and a rear tail light that would clamp to your seat tube for safety. I hope this information helped. Please like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment, and thanks for watching.